Giyani Bulk Water Project remains incomplete. This is despite government saying that it spent over 3.5 billion rands on it. Construction company Katu Civils is one of those that has been handling the project, and they say they had no choice but to stop work earlier last month. This is due to the fact that government has not paid them the outstanding monies. They insist, however, that some villages have been connected, but a resident saying that in fact is not the case. Now, for clarity on how villages are currently benefiting from the project, we're joined by Katu Civil's CEO, Mongezi Mnyani. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Mongezi. Now, you are the one that has asked for a right of reply following last week, and you did have an opportunity to come onto eNCA at the time that we did the story in Giyani, but you felt that there were other issues that you needed to clarify. So please go ahead.
No, thanks, Kathy, for the opportunity. We wanted to clarify one or two things. First of all, our scope as Katu Civils is basically taking water from the source. So there are two sources there in Giyani right now that we're talking about, is Nsami Dam and Litaba Dam. So that is where the water comes from. Then it goes to the central reservoirs. Once it's treated, it goes to the central reservoirs. Then our contract with Limpopo Northern Water is to take water from a bulk infrastructure point of view, from the central reservoirs into the reservoirs, into the villages. So that is bulk infrastructure. So we've got 8 pipelines that are running concurrently. So we've laid almost now 300 kilometers of those pipelines. The scope is about 325. We are left with about 25 kilometers to basically lay those pipes. It's new pipes, it's OPVC, it's the latest technology that we utilize for such. So we've laid almost 300 kilometers of those pipelines, taking the water now from the central reservoir commands into the villages of the reservoirs. So once it's in the reservoirs, it's stored there. Then once from the reservoirs, then it goes to the households. But that is not our scope. That work has to be done either by the municipality of Mupani or either with the Minister of Kota via their MIC funding. So at this point in time, our scope, therefore, is just to bring the bulk water into the reservoirs. It's stored there. Then from there, the other phase of the project that is still being planned is to take now what is called reticulation, which means house-to-house connections or standpipes. So what I wanted to clarify in the show, it was as if Katu is lying. That basically were the ones bringing the water. And
so let me take you back to what you said. It was an interview with our colleague, Michelle Craig, and yes, you told her that 21 villages yes, had already been connected to water supply.
Yes.
And the reason why we even went to the villages, which you, by the way, gave us, was that you said that in those villages, the water supply that they are receiving, that they are initial beneficiaries of your water project.
Yes. That's true. Today I've sent...
Yes, but the reality is that, in fact, those villages have not been connected by virtue of them receiving water. You've laid down the pipes. There's still phase 2 of the project that yes, needs to come into place.
But remember, there's still an old reticulation. Some of the villages have got old reticulation, which means water can go from house to house, water can go to a standpipe.
Yes, but that hasn't been your work.
No, it's not our work, but what I'm trying to correct is that we are taking water from the source, and then we bring it to the reservoirs.
Yes, but nobody has disputed that fact. Nobody has disputed that fact. What we disputed was the fact that you said that your organization had already connected 21 villages, Kathy, not in terms of pipeline infrastructure.
No, remember, when you connect to a reservoir, already those reservoirs serves a number of villages. That's what I meant. Already, if you look at Tomo, an F2 pipe, already 4 villages are connected to that reservoir. That reservoir
the pipes have been laid, but there's still phase 2 of the project, yes, so no water flowing.
No, there is water flowing, Kathy. There is water flowing. What needs to be done is now what is called reticulation, which means therefore that we must do the pipes from the reservoirs from house to house, house to house, house to house. But if you look at the water from Nsami Dam into the reservoirs where they are stored, that has been done in the villages that I've actually outlined.
But you haven't even completed phase 1 of the project.
Phase 1 is not completed precisely because of the impasse that we have with the government now of the non-payment.
Right.
We should have long finished this phase.
We're running out of time for our interview, and you know that's of course the one issue that you wanted to provide clarity on.
Yes.
But there are bigger problems that have been identified even last week about this project that you're running in Giyani.
Yes.
Let's take a listen to what the finance minister had to say in Parliament last week.
The Giyani Water Project is plagued by malfeasance. It is a cesspool of corruption. The challenges range from a complete disregard for supply chain rules to poor contract management, resulting in irregular expenditure. It is clear that a new delivery and financing model is required to provide water services to our communities. A key element of the new approach will be a stronger focus on project management and contract governance to ensure that projects such as the Giyani Water Project are fit for purpose and maximize value for money in the water sector. I have requested the Director General of the National Treasury to work with the Department of Water and Sanitation to ensure that appropriate action is taken against all guilty officials implicated in the Auditor General's report. The President has informed me that he will be visiting the Giyani area to see for himself what has happened and what needs to be done.
As a key service provider for this project, how do you respond to those allegations, malfeasance and a cesspool of corruption?
Well, with due respect to the minister, I'm sure he was not properly briefed around the project. First of all, there's value for money. Every payment that has been made to us is not only coming to KATU. There's payments made to the consulting engineers. There's money paid to the implementing agent, but also there's money that is going to VET. Thirdly is that every single payment, Kathy, is scrutinized by independent auditors, where independent auditors are from Ernst & Young that are part of the project. Unfortunately, they've pulled off because of non-payment also. So for the past few months, they've not been on site because they've not been paid like us. So every payment goes through that stringent processes. On site, the engineers must sign to say, indeed,
and despite that rigorous process, even the Auditor General has found that your systems are not up to scratch. This is what Parliament had to say. They said that the wasteful expenditure attributed to excessive project management and professional fees, and this is alongside excessive construction costs, and that's laying it directly at your door, that you have been overcharging for the service you're providing.
No, with due respect to the Auditor General, we are in court with him. We have taken him to court because we had to force him during the auditing process to go on site. How do you do a desktop audit? We've never been on site, we've never inspected anything, and then we produce a report. We forced him on that time when I was doing the auditing process. He went on site, he spent half a day. Can you imagine 300 kilometers of piping? You want to inspect them in one day? Surely the Auditor General did not do his work, and we challenged him. We are in court current with the Auditor General. We have challenged him because we feel that the report is
you also have an SIU report that was proclaimed in 2016 by former President Jacob Zuma, again, looking into the very same issue. So are you saying that every single body in this chain, in this process, has gotten the story wrong here?
They've gotten the story wrong, because they are comparing apples to bananas. You can't do that. This is a construction, you need to spend time. I was with the SIU for the whole day when they went to Giyani. They said they're coming back in a month. They never came back. Because when you say you want to audit, when you say you want to investigate, you've got to understand, first of all, how, therefore, the rationale of the project, how then do you implement the project, who's who in the project. But sometimes,
course,
because this project is in the public domain, everybody now makes an opinion. Even the engineers that work for the AG, we challenge them.
How did you get this contract? How did you get this contract?
Well, the contract was implemented or given to LTE consulting engineers through Lipele, through their own database that they're utilizing. We are subcontracted by LTE.
What relationship do your owners have with former Minister Nomvula Mokonyane?
We don't have any relationship. It's a minister like any other minister, and therefore Lipele Northern Water is the one that appointed LTE. It's not the Department of Water and Sanitation.
So are you saying that the reason you got this contract was in no way related to the kind of relationship that you had?
It's not related to the minister at all. The minister does their own work. The officials done their own work. We are approached because of our own capacity that we know actually how to do that.
Last week, LTE gave you an ultimatum. I think it was the week before, in fact. They gave you an ultimatum saying that, firstly, you needed to provide by the end of day when exactly you intended on leaving site. That's when you're going to complete your project because you're running behind schedule in terms of the deadline. Have you responded to that? And have you gone back to work? Because they told us, too, that they had paid you all the outstanding monies and that you needed to be back on site.
With due respect to Mr. Majola, I've replied to him in detail. I can make that letter available to you because he actually leaked the letter to you guys, but I can show you our responses to him. He is talking absolute rubbish. We have not been paid to date, And again, we cannot go back on site. There's still an outstanding amount. He knows for sure, very well, that on Friday we were supposed to be in a meeting with Lepelle Northern Water. He was not there. He sent his own representative to that meeting. I met with the CEO of Lepelle, I met with the department from the region, and then there was somebody from LTE to discuss the non-payment issue. To date, it's not been resolved. So I'm not sure what Mr. Macholo is talking about when he says we've been paid all the money. There is still an outstanding amount which was supposed to be paid on Friday. I know for a fact that DWS has paid to Lepelle Northern Water. The Lepelle Northern Water is supposed to be paying us. But again, Kevin, there's still work that's supposed to be verified on site, which we have done between June and September. So we've been working. Despite them not paying us, we've never stopped. But now we had to stop because of non-payment.
You have stopped now.
Yes.
So don't say you've never stopped, because you have stopped now.
No, we've stopped end of September. We've been working throughout. The only time we tooled down was when we could feel that we can't take this anymore. You can't work for 8 months without any payment. Yet you've got to pay suppliers, you've got to pay your own employees, you've got to pay your creditors.
All right.
Again, we're in trouble with SARS because of that. Now, which company can actually work?
And this is despite the fact that you've already been paid 2.2 billion.
No. So let me correct that.
You've received
that money.
No.
That's incorrect again. That 2.2 billion is not Katu's money. That 2.2 billion, I've told you, there's VAT that has to be paid, which is almost 500 million of VAT, 15%. There's money that goes to Lepelle as an implementing agent. That is not coming to Katu. There's also money that is going to the consulting engineers, which is LTE and other engineers. So Katu's money, only this money is about 1.4. But also that 1.4, Kathy, there's 40% of it that is subcontracted to contractors around Giyani and the Limpopo area.
Right.
So this thing of saying Katu has received 2.2 billion, it's nonsense. It's not there.
All right, let's leave it there for tonight. Unfortunately, we've run out of time there. Katu Civil CEO Mongezi Mnyani.